Hi, good evening. Welcome to Varsity Maine Live for the Portland Press Herald. I'm Travis Lazarzik, and I apologize for having a very loud dog behind me. I'm joined tonight by Michael Lowe of the Press Herald and Drew Bonifant of the Kennebec Journal. Our guest tonight is a senior at Skowhegan High School. She's a 1,000-point scorer. She's led her team to an 18-0 record in Class A North. They'll play in the quarterfinals tomorrow night against Brewer in the first round of the tournament. Next year, she'll be at Boston University. Jaycie Christopher, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Your matchup is against Brewer. You guys undefeated. Closest game was a 13-point win over Bangor. What do you feel like's been just working for you guys as you roll through this regular season and get ready for the playoffs now?
A big focus for us all season has been playing hard and playing together on the defensive end. When we go into every game, the big focus has always been play with intensity, play with energy, and play hard on the defensive end.
Jaycie, I see you're in the gym. So what are you going to do after you get off the show with us here tonight?
My dad's going to rebound for me. I'll get up about 400 shots, and then I'll go home and rest for tomorrow.
Now, when you get the shots up, are you moving and your dad passing you the ball so you're getting the ball in a position to shoot?
Yeah, so I shoot shots from all over the floor, game shots. So I'll shoot a bunch of different things that I'll do in games, whether it's like off screens or just catch and shoot.
So now that's still a lesser amount of shots than you will normally take, right?
Yeah, so normal routine is about 700 shots. But on a night before a game, we shorten it a little bit.
Jaycie, your team's sitting at number one, undefeated after a really strong season. But not to bring up tough memories, but your freshman year, I believe it was, team was in a very similar spot, and so ended up losing in the regional final to Hampton. So how do you use that as either motivation for this time around, or just, are there lessons that you can learn from that? Just about how obviously you can't take any of these games for granted, things like that.
Yeah, so obviously my freshman year, that was devastating. Learned a lot from that, though. Like, you have to be mentally focused. Like, you never know what can happen in the tournament, and you have to stay relaxed and just kind of do your job, play your part, and come ready to play every night because you never know what can happen.
Jaycie, you chose Boston University pretty early last year as a junior. Was it important to you to make that decision early to just have no distractions your senior year?
I definitely wanted to make the decision before my senior year. I actually originally had planned on making the decision kind of at the end of the summer, but it just felt right. And so I decided in March that was the right time to commit. So.
Now, Jaycie, you're going to BU to play basketball, but you're a pretty good softball player too. You were on our all-state team last year. Your team won a state championship last year. Any thoughts of double dipping in college?
Some people have mentioned it to me, but it's not really something that I've ever really thought about. It'd be really hard to play two sports there, and I really enjoy playing softball, but I don't love it like I love basketball. So to commit that kind of time to it, I don't know.
But winning a state championship last year in softball, does that help this year going into the tournament? Give you a little experience there?
I think especially a lot of the kids that play basketball were on that team last year in softball. And so just having that confidence as an athlete, I think, has helped a lot this year.
Jaycie, how's it felt playing this year with those BU plans and everything taken care of versus the previous years where you're still trying to, still in the process of being recruited and everything like that? Has just kind of felt like it's been more easy going from that standpoint this year, or how has it felt different at all?
It's definitely taken some pressure off, and just being able to go out and play and focus on my team and winning games and not having to have that kind of in the back of my mind.
What have been some of the surprises about this year? I'm sure there are some teams that are maybe not surprised to see Skowhegan as the number one seed, but certainly undefeated would have come as a surprise to some teams around. So has there been anything about this season that surprised you, whether it's about how a player has come along, or just how a real team unison feeling has kicked in?
It's been really awesome, how everybody kind of like made a big jump from last year to this year as athletes and over the summer to like with confidence. And so it's been really good to see some of the younger kids kind of mature as athletes, and step up this year and be able to knock down shots with confidence and come in and play hard every night.
All right, JC, before we let you get off here and go take your shots, you're going to Boston University. Mike is a graduate of BU. Drew's a graduate of Northeastern. Is there any trash talk you'd like to give Drew here before you go? BU won the Beanpot just a few days ago.
Yeah, I did see that. So I don't know.
I want to ask you, JC, in all the times you've gone down there, have you gone to T. Anthony's yet?
I haven't.
Oh God, you need to go to T. Anthony's. I don't know what, Drew's probably going to say otherwise, but what does he know? T. Anthony's is the best pizza place in Boston. There's nothing close to it. Whenever I go down to Boston, that's a definite stop for me. So you gotta go there, get a pie. Their food there is marvelous. It's a wonderful place, and get on the Green Line and explore the city. That's the best advice I can give you.
All right, thanks. Sounds good.
B-Hop makes a good slice too.
No.
All right. I guess we'll give Drew the last word on Boston pizza, begrudgingly. So, all right, Jaycie Christopher, Skowhegan High School. Good luck in the tournament, and thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have a huge list of athletes of the week. So we will start with Leah Doobie from Lewiston Girls Hockey. She's a junior forward, and she scored all the goals in the game in the Blue Devils' 3-0 win Wednesday night against Edward Little Levitt Poland in the North Regional Final. Lewiston will take on Scarborough for the state title Saturday afternoon. Maddie Ripley from Oceanside Wrestling, the sophomore 113-pounder, became the fifth girl in Maine high school wrestling history to win a regional title on Saturday, running her record to 32-1 with a 8-3 decision against Sean Bunganzi of Morse in the B South Final. Ripley will try to become the first girl in Maine to win a state title on Saturday. Andrew Farr from Gorham Indoor Track. He's been dealing with an injury and wasn't sure if he'd run the 55 meters at the SMMA Championships on Saturday, but he did, and he dropped his state leading time to 6.51 seconds. He also won the 200 in a state leading time of 22.70 seconds and the 400 in 51.27 seconds, winning the race by more than 2 seconds. Farr could well claim a state record in the sprints during the Class A state championships on Monday, and he will compete next year at Division I Yale. Emma Charles, Mount Blue Nordic Skiing. Charles won the KVAC Girls Classical title by 1 minute 47 seconds, and the freestyle by just shy of 1 minute and 23 seconds, an individual dominating performance that paced the Cougars' dominance at the conference championships that included the top 4 finishers in the classical and the top 7 in the freestyle. Drew, Emma Charles seems to have been on the big stage for Nordic skiing for a few years now.
Yeah, she's just been dominant this season in particular. But yeah, like you said, it's been leading up to this point the last few years. She skis outside of Maine. She skis, I believe, on the national events too. And she's just head and shoulders above her competition at this level. I saw her in the Mount Blue Nordic team at the Marina Cook Waves race earlier in the year. And they have all the racers start at, seven skiers start at once or something like that. And she just from the gun was just gliding ahead of everybody. And you can hear, I think I heard somebody next to me say, like, is she on steroids or something? It was like that drastic. I mean, it's just shows how seriously she takes the sport, and that combination of talent and technique and everything. It's not a surprise to see her get off to such a commanding victory in an event like that.
Okay. Hannah Could of Mount View girls basketball. She scored 26 points to lead the number 12 Mustangs to the upset 46-36 win over number 5 Waterville in the Class B North girls preliminary round. With the win, Mount View advanced to the regional quarterfinals for the first time since 2009. Cheyenne Cahill of Carebeck scored her 1,000th point in a 69-32 Class C South Prelim win over Telstar. Back to you, Drew. Figure Carebeck's got to be one of those teams in the mix for that Class C South title.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're the number 2 seed in the region, and they're a real bet to be one of the last teams standing. Cahill's a big reason why. She's been their top player, for a couple of years now. But I think the difference this year is that it's not just her. It's players like Brooke Welch, it's players like Julia Baker and Courtney Rollins that have helped the Cobras be more balanced and be more versatile. And so even though she's the best player in the team, she doesn't have to do it all like she did in previous years. And it just makes them more dangerous and more of a sure bet to go into the later rounds.
Okay. John Shea from Edward Little Boys Basketball. He scored 16 of his 37 points in the 2 overtime periods of the Red Eddies' double overtime win over rival Lewiston in the regular season finale last Thursday. Lisa McNair from Old Orchard Beach Girls Basketball. She's a junior guard, and she scored 21 points with 8 rebounds and 6 steals in a 73-26 win over St. Dom's in the Class C South preliminary round on Tuesday. Mike, we just talked about the Class C South tournament with Carebeck being contender. Got to think Old Orchard Beach is in that mix too.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that puts up a lot of points, led by McNair. She averages somewhere close to 20 points, 18 to 20 points a game. The thing about her, she's a lefty, which throws a lot of defenders off. I mean, and she goes to the hoop. She's got a nice outside shot as well. But I think Old Orchard Beach and NYA both have a chance to make some noise up in Augusta. You know, they can go pretty far. With Old Orchard Beach, it all depends on their outside shooting. They're still a young team, and you know, if they're not hitting the outside shots, they don't have a whole lot on the inside to counter other teams.
Sometimes teams have a little trouble adjusting to the tournament hoops that are kind of more in space rather than bracketed to a gym wall. So we'll see if there's a quick adjustment there for that sharpshooting Old Orchard Beach team. All right. David York from Kennebunk Wrestling, a senior competing at 170 pounds. York won his first postseason tournament in a wrestling career that goes back to kindergarten with a pin in the final of the A South Regional. York 6 points were the last tallied by Kennebunk, which won its first regional title since 1995 by a half a point. Evelyn Boardman from Scarborough Girls Hockey. She scored the game-winning goal with 8 seconds left in the third overtime to lift the Red Storm to a 1-0 win over Chever's co-op team in the Girls Hockey South semis. And then Boardman added 2 assists in her team's 3-1 win over the Cape Fleet Riots in the regional championship. Dylan Worcester from Oxford Hills Wrestling. He's a senior competing at 195 pounds, and Worcester was one of 2 individual champions for the Vikings who won the Class A North title as a team. Jace Bessie, Spruce Mountain Boys Basketball. The freshman hit 5 3-pointers, scored 27 points against Diego. The next day, made a school record 8 3-pointers while scoring 35 points against Winthrop as the Phoenix wrapped up an unbeaten regular season. Jess Dow, Thornton Academy Girls Basketball junior forward, scored 22 points with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks to lead the Trojans to a 53-46 win over South Portland in the AA Girls Hoops quarterfinals Wednesday. She scored 16 points in the second half. Mike, other than a short little hiccup in the middle of the season when they were dealing with some COVID, Thornton Academy's been strong, and we've probably got to consider them one of the contenders in that tough Class A South.
I agree. I think they and Cheverus are the 2 most athletic teams I've seen this year. Thornton Academy really, and talking to Lynn Hassan, the South Portland coach, after the game last night, she was saying they've got 4 kids who can score. They've got 4, and they do. You look over the course of the year and you look at their box scores. They've had a different leading, 4 different leading scorers throughout the season. I mean, they have kids who can score anywhere from 10 to 18 points. The Sulikowski girl, she can put up 20, 25 points in a blink. I mean, they're a very dangerous team. And Dow's a kid who, this is probably not her best sport. I think she's a better softball player than she is a basketball player, but she is, as her coach said last night, she's a gamer. When something needs to be done, she's going to do it. And she just took control of that game last night after the in the second half. It was 20-20 at the half, and Thornton just went on a run to take control of that.
Okay. Silvano Ismail, Cheverus Boys Basketball, the Stags junior guard, earned a spot in the Portland area tournament lore with his 40-foot running one-handed shot that banked in at the buzzer to give number 6 Cheverus a 44-42 AA North quarterfinal win against number 3 Portland at the Expo on Wednesday. Silvano scored 23 points, and if you haven't seen this shot, go find it online. It's one of the better ones you'll see ever. Mia Claire Kiesel from Thornton Academy Indoor Track, the senior who recently announced her commitment to run track at the Naval Academy, set an SMAA championship meet record in the 800 meters on Saturday with a time of 2 minutes, 18.13 seconds, and cruised to a win in the 2-mile as well. Class A and B state track championships will be held this coming Monday at USM. Sierra Carson from Oxford Hills Girls Basketball is a junior forward, and she scored 27 points, hitting 5 3-pointers to lead the Vikings to a 63-30 win over Deering in the Class AA North quarterfinals on Wednesday. Evan Reeves, Cape Elizabeth Boys Basketball, he's a 6'8" junior forward, and he did a little of everything in the number 6 Capers, 58-43 Class B preliminary round win against number 11 Wells. Reeves scored a game-high 16 points with 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 block shots. And finally, Hannah Goslin from Biddeford girls basketball. The senior scored all 10 of her points in the second half, including a big three-pointer late in the fourth to help the Tigers upset Freeport 40-34 in the Class A South preliminary round game Wednesday. Congratulations to all the athletes of the week. Now we'll go on to the varsitymaine.com polls. You can find these at varsitymaine.com. They're voted on by sports writers from around the state. Starting with boys basketball, number one still Nokomis with all 8 first place votes, followed by South Portland, number 3 Edward Little, number 4 Brewer, and number 5 Oxford Hills. And Drew, this is going to be a chance at the Augusta Civic Center for the state to finally get a chance to see this great Nokomis team and Cooper Flagg and his brothers.
Yeah, you got to think there are a lot of people in the area who are who have been wanting to get a glimpse of him on the court, and they didn't make the trip to Nokomis or something like that. But now that it's at Augusta in a central location and a bigger arena, they'll have that better chance to go see him. And yeah, I think we're going to see some good crowds of people who are both fans of the teams that are playing, but also just basketball fans in the area who they just want to see what a potential high level D1 commit looks like.
Sure.
All he's done this season is show that the hype was worth it. And so you got to think that the interest in seeing him live has only grown since the start of the season.
Nokomis opens the tournament Saturday night against Messalonskee.
That's right.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Late one, but it'll be well worth it if you can make it to the Augusta Civic Center. Girls basketball poll. Number 1, Oxford Hills. Despite ending the regular season when that lost to Bangor last week, they're still in first with 5 first-place votes. Number 2, Skowhegan is in the second with 2 first-place votes, followed by Chevers. They have 1 first-place vote, and then Gorham and Gardner. Mike, Oxford Hills, Chevers still on a collision course in AA North?
They certainly are. They're the 2 best teams there. Everybody's been, they split in the regular season. Each time the winning team had to come back from a big deficit in the fourth quarter to win it. So it's really, they have some of the best players in the state on the team. Carson for Oxford Hills and Maddie Fitzpatrick for Chevers. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I'll tell you what, the game I'm really looking forward to is the semifinal game. Hamden won tonight, so it's Hamden Chevers in the semifinals. And as we know, Chevers beat Hamden once in the regular season and then chose not to play in the second game up at Hamden. It was a team decision, as all the schools say. They will not go into why they chose not to play, but it ended up being a forfeit for Chevers and a forfeit victory for Hamden, which lifted Hamden from 4th to 3rd in the heel point standings in setting up the semifinal match, which, of course, Chevers will have to play if they have a championship in mind.
And that game will be at the Cross Arena next week?
That game will be on Wednesday at 2 p.m. at the Cross Arena.
Okay. Boys hockey top 5. Edward Little, despite a loss to South Portland last week, they're number 1 with 5 first-place votes. Number 2, Bangor picks up a first-place vote with 1, followed by Greeley, Old Town, and Messalonskee, which had their first 2 losses of the season, slips from 3rd to 5. Then finally, girls hockey, Lewiston picks up all 6 first-place votes, followed by Scarborough. Then number 3, Cape Elizabeth, Waynfleet, South Portland. Number 4, Chevers, Old Orchard Beach, Kennebunk, Wyndham. And then number 5, Edward Little, Levitt, Poland. That's as good a segue as any to kind of talk about some of the big games that are coming up. Playoffs everywhere, state championships everywhere. Starting on Saturday with a game that I'll be covering, this Lewiston versus Scarborough girls hockey final at True Marina in Portland. These teams met once in the regular season. Scarborough took a 4-2 win. Both teams look sharp in their regional finals wins on Wednesday night, so I'm looking forward to that game. Drew, what are some of the games you're looking forward to covering in the tournament coming up?
Yeah, there are a couple for different reasons. One is the game we were just talking about, the Nokomis boys game against Messalonskee, just because I want to see what the environment's going to be like. I want to see if it's going to be a packed house. I want to see if it's going to be a very vocal crowd. Are you going to be hearing some, overrated chants or anything like that, or just what is the what is just the atmosphere going to be like, and just how animated is the crowd going to be? I'm interested in seeing that. From a strictly on court perspective, I'm really interested in seeing the Mount Blue and Skowhegan boys game. It's 3 versus 6. Skowhegan being the 3, Mount Blue being the 6. Mount Blue lost to Skowhegan twice in the regular season, but one of those games went to overtime. And Mount Blue was a different team than they were at the start of the season. They got Hayden Dipner back, who's a talented offensive player for them, and kind of a a physical leader kind of player. And so they could be one of those dangerous low seeds in this tournament. And so I think Skowhegan has a chance of coming out of this bracket, but they're going to be faced with a tough matchup in their first game.
I'm glad you brought up the crowds, Drew, because that's something that I'm really interested in seeing. I know at the hockey games I covered last night in Portland, crowds are fantastic for both of those regional final games. Mike, I'm sure you're hearing from a lot of fans. They're just excited to get back to whether it's the Expo or Cross Arena or, you name it, they want to get there.
Yeah, they are. And actually tomorrow, my assignment on Friday at the Portland Expo is to talk to those people in the stands about what it means to them to be able to come into the tournament and see. And I'll make sure they have their mask on too, because they have to at the Expo. But no, it's very, it's obviously the tournament wasn't held last year. There's a lot of excitement about it, and there's a lot of people saying, this is a good step back to being normal, to have these tournaments being held this year.
Yeah, I'll be at the Expo tomorrow too for Yarmouth boys games. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't covered a game at the Expo in the tournament yet. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
It's you have your choice of sitting at center court or on the baseline, whatever you want to sit. I choose center court. Steve Craig usually chooses baseline. So we'll see where we are tomorrow.
Maybe I'll do a half from each just to mix it up. Who knows?
But I'm looking forward. I'll tell you what. I'm looking forward to seeing this Oceanside girls team on Saturday morning. Undefeated. They got a couple. Bailey Breen, their freshman center, has already been offered a scholarship by Amy Vachon. She's really good, 6'3". I want to see Wells. I haven't seen them this year. And listening in the Class A boys, we already had a couple of big upsets, an 11 and a 10, one in the preliminary round. So, a lot of coaches said this year nobody knows what's going to happen because nobody had playoffs last year. There's no playoff experience, no matter who you are. And it's really gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how this tournament unfolds over the next week and a half.
Yeah, and teams that didn't have full rosters for a big chunk of the regular season might have them now. And that Thornton Academy girls team is a good example. They had that week where they just couldn't buy a win. Now that they're healthy, they could be a contender.
No, I agree. I thought along that it would be between Thornton Academy and Gorham in Class AA South. And I'll tell you what, Scarborough's played extremely well this year, and they deserve the number 2 seed. It's going to be that Scarborough-Thornton matchup is going to be very interesting. And the other AA South matchup, Massabesic beat Gorham in the regular season at Gorham. So who knows what's going to happen? I think I think most of these are pretty wide open myself.
I agree. Drew, we haven't really talked about Class D much at all. In Class D South, where you're going to see in the Augusta Civic Center, is it looking like the Forest Hills boys are a runaway favorite, and the Rangeley Valley girls are kind of fighting for that top spot in the girls' side?
Yeah, the Rangeley Valley girls is a pretty. They've had some close games throughout the season. It looks like they're kind of on that collision course, like we used that term earlier, for the final. On the boys' side, it doesn't look that competitive. I mean, Forest Hills has not lost to a class. First, they haven't lost at all, but against Class D competition, they haven't lost to a team by fewer than 20 points. And then if you take that game out, I think their next closest game was 34 points or something like that. I mean, they're an overwhelming favorite. And it's kind of funny that they lose one of the best players the region has seen in recent years in Parker Desjardins, and they might be more of a favorite now than they were with him the last time they were in the tournament. But they've just been able to, Mason Desjardins has stepped up. His younger brother has stepped up as the leading scorer now. They have the Jackman and Cooper Daigle there. It's a deep team in Forest Hills, and it's going to take a lot to knock them off.
Didn't the Desjardins kid score a 1,000th point the other night? The younger brother.
He did.
So we had to find out at the sibling combination who had the most points in Maine history. That'd be
well, the Hartwell twins in Valley, going back to their run in the early 2000s, both scored 1,000 points.
Mm-hmm. But did one of them score over 2,000 points?
No. So that's the question.
That's like having twins. I mean triplets. I mean like
Yeah.
triplets. That's like having
Yeah.
triplets.
And well, in Forest Hills, if they, assuming they, run through the D South, they're probably going to get a tough contest from either Machias or it looks like Southern Roost, the teams to beat in the North.
Yeah, when they get to the state game, then the bets are off, and they could find themselves with a real game on their hands. Green of the D South field, Greenville is the team that looks like it has posed the biggest counter to Forest Hills. But like I was saying, there's no team there that is taken to the brink or anything. So, but weird things happen in the tournament. We've seen that before.
Oh, definitely. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Be sure to check out varsitymaine.com for the coverage of not just the basketball tournament, but hockey, swimming, indoor track, skiing, wrestling, everything you could possibly want in high school sports. You can find it there. A reminder, we will not have a show next week because we're all going to be out covering tournament games. We just won't be around to do it. So thanks for watching tonight. For Drew, for Mike, for JC, for my loud yappy dog, I'm Travis. Thanks for joining us on Varsity Maine Live.